Hello and welcome to day 83 of the Not Alone Today Chronological Bible Reading Plan with Joseph and Anu. Today we'll be reading 1 Samuel chapter 9 to 12 using the New International Version UK.
Chapter 9. There was a Benjamite, a man of standing, whose name was Kish, son of Abiel, the son of Zerah, the son of Bechorath, the son of Aphiah of Benjamin. Kish had a son named Saul, as handsome a young man as could be found anywhere in Israel, and he was a head taller than anyone else.
Now the donkeys belonging to Saul's father Kish were lost, and Kish said to his son Saul, "Take one of the servants with you and go and look for the donkeys." So he passed through the hill country of Ephraim and through the area of Shalisha, but they did not find them. They went on into the district of Shaalim, but the donkeys were not there. Then he passed through the territory of Benjamin, but they did not find them.
When they reached the district of Zoph, Saul said to the servant who was with him, "Come, let's go back, or my father will stop thinking about the donkeys and start worrying about us."
But the servants replied, "Look, in this town there is a man of God. He is highly respected, and everything he says comes true. Let's go there now. Perhaps he will tell us what way to take."
Saul said to the servant, "If we go, what can we give the man? The food in our sacks is gone. We have no gift to take to the man of God. What do we have?"
The servant answered him again, "Look," he said, "I have a quarter of a shekel of silver. I will give it to the man of God so that he will tell us what way to take." Formerly in Israel, if someone went to inquire of God, they would say, "Come, let us go to the seer," because the prophet of today used to be called a seer.
"Good," Saul said to the servant. "Come, let's go." So they set out for the town where the man of God was.
As they were going up the hill to the town, they met some young women coming out to draw water, and they asked him, "Is the seer here?"
"He is," they answered. "He is ahead of you. Hurry now. He has just come to our town today, for the people have a sacrifice at the high place. As soon as you enter the town, you will find him before he goes up to the high place to eat. The people will not begin eating until he comes, because he must bless the sacrifice. Afterwards, those who are invited will eat. Go up now. You should find him about this time."
They went up to the town, and as they were entering it, there was Samuel coming towards them on his way up to the high place.
Now, the day before Saul came, the Lord had revealed this to Samuel. "About this time tomorrow, I will send you a man from the land of Benjamin. Anoint him ruler over my people Israel. He will deliver them from the hand of the Philistines. I have looked on my people, for their cry has reached me."
When Samuel caught sight of Saul, the Lord said to him, "This is the man I spoke to you about. He will govern my people."
Saul approached Samuel in the gateway and asked, "Would you please tell me where the seer's house is?"
"I am the seer," Samuel replied. "Go up ahead of me to the high place. For today you are to eat with me, and in the morning I will send you on your way and will tell you all that is in your heart. As for the donkeys you lost 3 days ago, do not worry about them. They have been found. And to whom is all the desire of Israel turned, if not to you and your whole family line?"
Saul answered, "But am I not a Benjamite from the smallest tribe of Israel? And is not my clan the least of all the clans in the tribe of Benjamin? Why do you say such a thing to me?"
Then Samuel brought Saul and his servants into the hall and seated them at the head of those who were invited, about 30 in number. Samuel said to the cook, "Bring the piece of meat I gave you, the one I told you to lay aside."
So the cook took up the thigh with what was on it and set it in front of Saul. Samuel said, "Here is what has been kept for you. Eat, because it was set aside for you for this occasion from the time I said, 'I have invited guests.'" And Saul dined with Samuel that day.
After they came down from the high place to the town, Samuel talked with Saul on the roof of his house. They rose about daybreak, and Samuel called to Saul on the roof, "Get ready, and I will send you on your way." When Saul got ready, he and Samuel went outside together. As they were going down to the edge of the town, Samuel said to Saul, "Tell the servants to go on ahead of us." And the servant did so. But you stay here for a while, so that I may give you a message from God.
Chapter 10. Then Samuel took a flask of olive oil and poured it on Saul's head and kissed him, saying, "Has not the Lord anointed you ruler over his inheritance? When you leave me today, you will meet two men near Rachel's tomb at Zelzah on the border of Benjamin. They will say to you, 'The donkeys you set out to look for have been found, and now your father has stopped thinking about them and is worried about you. He's asking, what shall I do about my son?'
Then you will go on from there until you reach the great tree of Tabor. 3 men going up to worship God at Bethel will meet you there. One will be carrying 3 young goats, another 3 loaves of bread, and another a skin of wine. They will greet you and offer you 2 loaves of bread, which you will accept from them.
After that, you will go to Gibeah of God, where there's a Philistine outpost. As you approach the town, you will meet a procession of prophets coming down from the high place with lyres, tambourines, pipes, and harps being played before them, and they will be prophesying. The Spirit of the Lord will come powerfully upon you, and you will prophesy with them, and you will be changed into a different person. Once these signs are fulfilled, do whatever your hand finds to do, for God is with you."
Go down ahead of me to Gilgal. I will surely come down to you to sacrifice burnt offerings and fellowship offerings. But you must wait 7 days until I come to you and tell you what you are to do.
As Saul turned to leave Samuel, God changed Saul's heart, and all these signs were fulfilled that day. When he and his servant arrived at Gibeah, the procession of prophets met him. The Spirit of God came powerfully upon him, and he joined in their prophesying. When all those who had formerly known him saw him prophesying with the prophets, they asked each other, "What is this that has happened to the son of Kish? Is Saul also among the prophets?"
A man who lived there answered, "And who is their father?" So it became a saying, "Is Saul also among the prophets?" After Saul stopped prophesying, he went to the high place.
Now Saul's uncle asked him and his servant, "Where have you been?"
"Looking for the donkeys," he said. "But when we saw they were not to be found, we went to Samuel."
Saul's uncle said, "Tell me what Samuel said to you."
Saul replied, "He assured us that the donkeys had been found." But he did not tell his uncle what Samuel had said about the kingship.
Samuel summoned the people of Israel to the Lord at Mizpah and said to them, "This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. I brought Israel out of Egypt, and I delivered you from the power of Egypt and all the kingdoms that oppressed you. But you have now rejected your God, who saves you out of all your disasters and calamities. And you have said, 'No, appoint a king over us.' So now present yourselves before the Lord by your tribes and clans."
When Samuel had made all Israel come forward by tribes, the tribe of Benjamin was taken by lot. Then he brought forward the tribe of Benjamin clan by clan, and Matri's clan was taken. Finally, Saul, son of Kish, was taken. But when they looked for him, he was not to be found. So they inquired further of the Lord, "Has the man come here yet?"
And the Lord said, "Yes, he has hidden himself among the supplies."
They ran and brought him out. And as he stood among the people, he was a head taller than any of the others. Samuel said to all the people, "Do you see the man the Lord has chosen? There is no one like him among all the people."
Then the people shouted, "Long live the king!"
Samuel explained to the people the rights and duties of kingship. He wrote them down on a scroll and deposited it before the Lord. Then Samuel dismissed the people to go to their own homes.
Saul also went to his home in Gibeah, accompanied by valiant men whose hearts God had touched. But some scoundrels said, "How can this fellow save us?" They despised him and brought him no gifts, but Saul kept silent.
Chapter 11. Nahash the Ammonite went up and besieged Jabesh Gilead, and all the men of Jabesh said to him, "Make a treaty with us, and we will be subject to you."
But Nahash the Ammonite replied, "I will make a treaty with you only on the condition that I gouge out the right eye of every one of you, and so bring disgrace on all Israel."
The elders of Jabesh said to him, "Give us 7 days so that we can send messengers throughout Israel. If no one comes to rescue us, we will surrender to you."
When the messengers came to Gibeah of Saul and reported those terms to the people, they all wept aloud. Just then, Saul was returning from the fields behind his oxen, and he asked, "What is wrong with everyone? Why are they weeping?" Then they repeated to him what the men of Jabesh had said.
When Saul heard their words, the Spirit of God came powerfully upon him, and he burned with hunger. He took a pair of oxen, cut them into pieces, and sent the pieces by messengers throughout Israel, proclaiming, "This is what will be done to the oxen of anyone who does not follow Saul and Samuel." Then the terror of the Lord fell on the people, and they came out together as one. When Saul mustered them at Bezek, the men of Israel numbered 300,000, and those of Judah 30,000.
They told the messengers who had come, "Say to the men of Jabesh Gilead, by the time the sun is hot tomorrow, you will be rescued." When the messengers went and reported this to the men of Jabesh, they were elated. They said to the Ammonites, "Tomorrow we will surrender to you, and you can do to us whatever you like."
The next day, Saul separated his men into 3 divisions. During the last watch of the night, they broke into the camp of the Ammonites and slaughtered them until the heat of the day. Those who survived were scattered, so that no 2 of them were left together.
The people then said to Samuel, "Who was it that asked, 'Shall Saul reign over us? Turn these men over to us that we may put them to death.'"
But Saul said, "No one will be put to death today, for this day the Lord has rescued Israel."
Then Samuel said to the people, "Come, let us go to Gilgal and there renew the kingship." So all the people went to Gilgal and made Saul king in the presence of the Lord. There they sacrificed fellowship offerings before the Lord. And Saul and all the Israelites held a great celebration.
Chapter 12. Samuel said to all Israel, "I have listened to everything you said to me and have set a king over you. Now you have a king as your leader. As for me, I am old and gray, and my sons are here with you. I have been your leader from my youth until this day. Here I stand. Testify against me in the presence of the Lord and his anointed. Whose ox have I taken? Whose donkey have I taken? Whom have I cheated? Whom have I oppressed? From whose hand have I accepted a bribe to make me shut my eyes? If I have done any of these things, I will make it right."
"You have not cheated or oppressed us," they replied. "You have not taken anything from anyone's hand."
Samuel said to them, "The Lord is my witness against you, and also his anointed is witness this day, that you have not found anything in my hand."
"He is witness," they said.
Then Samuel said to the people, "It is the Lord who appointed Moses and Aaron and brought your ancestors up out of Egypt. Now then, stand here, because I am going to confront you with evidence before the Lord as to all the righteous acts performed by the Lord for you and your ancestors."
After Jacob entered Egypt, they cried to the Lord for help. And the Lord sent Moses and Aaron, who brought your ancestors out of Egypt and settled them in this place.
But they forgot the Lord their God, so he sold them into the hands of Sisera, the commander of the army of Hazor, and into the hands of the Philistines and the king of Moab, who fought against them. They cried out to the Lord and said, "We have sinned, we have forsaken the Lord and served the Baals and the Ashtoreths. But now deliver us from the hands of our enemies, and we will serve you." Then the Lord sent Jerubbaal, Barak, Jephthah, and Samuel, and he delivered you from the hands of your enemies all around you, so that you lived in safety.
But when you saw that Nahash, king of the Ammonites, was moving against you, you said to me, "No, we want a king to rule over us, even though the Lord your God was your king. Now here is the king you have chosen, the one you asked for. Say, the Lord has set a king over you. If you fear the Lord and serve and obey him and do not rebel against his commands, and if both you and the king who reigns over you follow the Lord your God, good. But if you do not follow the Lord, and if you rebel against his commands, his hand will be against you, as it was against your ancestors.
Now then, stand still and see this great thing the Lord is about to do before your eyes. Is it not wheat harvest now? I will call on the Lord to send thunder and rain, and you will realize what an evil thing you did in the eyes of the Lord when you asked for a king."
Then Samuel called on the Lord, and the same day the Lord sent thunder and rain. So all the people stood in awe of the Lord and of Samuel.
The people all said to Samuel, "Pray to the Lord your God for your servants, so that we will not die. For we have added to all our other sins the evil of asking for a king."
Do not be afraid, Samuel replied. You have done all this evil, yet do not turn away from the Lord, but serve the Lord with all your heart. Do not turn away after useless idols. They can do you no good, nor can they rescue you, because they are useless. For the sake of his great name, the Lord would not reject his people, because the Lord was pleased to make you his own. As for me, far be it from me that I should sin against the Lord by failing to pray for you. And I will teach you the way that is good and right. But be sure to fear the Lord and serve him faithfully with all your hearts. Consider what great things he has done for you. Yet, if you persist in doing evil, both you and your king will perish. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God. By way of quick recap, we have read 4 chapters between chapters 9 and 12. In chapter 9, we saw how Samuel anointed Saul after a curious set of coincidences brought Saul in the path of Samuel, and Samuel, having been foreinformed of God that he would come his way, began to set in place the process for the coronation. And then in chapter 10, we saw how Saul was made king amongst the people. On the day of the confirmation of his appointment, we learned that he hid himself. But eventually they found him out, and there was a mixed reception. Some people were very glad and shouted, "Long live the king." But the Bible also speaks of some scoundrels or worthless men that despised him and brought him no gift. In chapter 11, Saul rescues the city of Jabesh Gilead. They had been under terrorism from the Ammonites, and they negotiated to wait for some days to see if any of the other tribes will come to their rescue. The Spirit of the Lord came upon Saul. He rallied the people round by some very threatening gesture, and they went and fought and won. And that led to the full confirmation of Saul as the king in Gilgal. In chapter 12, Samuel gave his farewell speech. He emphasized that he has not taken anything from them. He pointed out the evil of asking for a king, because the Lord had always been their king. But he said, in any case, what they have asked for has come to stay. And he warned them against turning away after useless idols, so that God can continue to do them good. And those are the 4 chapters that we have read. Back to chapter 9. What stood out to you?
What stood out to me was why Saul did not recognize Samuel as the seer. If Samuel has been judging over Israel from his youth until his old age, why did Saul go to him and still ask, "Do you know where the seer is?" And Samuel had to say, "I am the seer." I just found that a bit interesting. Like, why don't you know the prophet over your land is? Well,
it's probably also a testament to how vast this region is. So much so that even though we're told Samuel is always on a circuit judging Israel from place to place, there will still be places that is not as known as it would be, for instance, in his base in Ramah. So yeah, it's somewhat understandable in that sense. Yeah. For me, what stood out in that chapter was the role that, people that we wouldn't necessarily even point back to in the story, the role that they played. So first of all, Saul's servant was the one that even suggested in the first instance, let's go consult a seer, which is Prophet Samuel in this case. And then when they got into that city, it was some young women, again, whose name we do not know, that were coming out to draw water, that they asked direction from, and they gave them much more than direction. The question is the seer here? But they will go on to say, much more than, yes, he's here. They went on to talk about what the schedule for the day would be and things like that. And I just found that curious. So the role of the servants and then those young women in all of these chain reactions of what seems to be coincidences, but which we know has all been preordained by God, is just striking. Chapter 10, what stood out to you?
What stood out to me in chapter 10 was why Saul hid himself among the supplies. It's instant. Yeah, it stood out to me as quite interesting. And the fact is that God had already changed Saul's heart and given him a new spirit. So therefore, I don't understand why he went to hide. Maybe the whole coronation just got to him and he went to hide. I don't know.
I like that in some other versions. That language of the supplies is actually put as the baggage. He has hidden himself among the baggage. And I see within that phrasing a metaphorical interpretation, like much more than the literal act of him hiding by the baggage, is a pointer to the fact that Saul himself is coming into this new appointment with a lot of baggage. And that baggage will begin to find expression as we go on, even right from chapter 11. There is the baggage of insecurity, for instance, because we read in chapter 10 towards the end that, it was accompanied by valiant men whose hearts God had touched. But while there were valiant men whose hearts God had touched and who had celebrated him and said, yes, we are here for you. Verse 27 says, some scoundrels are also beginning to say, how can this guy save us? They despised him and brought him no gifts. So already it's beginning to have that sense of, okay, there is a mixed reception going on here. Of course, again, as we just go on in the story, Saul is a very interesting character. Be that as it may, it seemed to start well. And then, of course, things will just start going downhill. But I think it's all expression of this baggage that he has brought into his leadership responsibility. I know you mentioned about the fact that God has changed his heart. He even says it again in verse 9. But again, in the Old Testament, even when it says, the Spirit of the Lord came upon them and things like that, it's not a once and for all. It's not a permanent experience as much as we have the Holy Spirit resident in us in the New Testament. And so there is that necessity to continue to maintain practices. Of course, this is still true anyways, even for us that are indwelled by the Holy Spirit. We must continue to maintain practices that makes that experience real. But in the case of Saul, we're going to see how that played out. The last thing that stood out to me in chapter 10 that I thought should also be mentioned is right from verse 1, how Samuel, after he anointed him, said, has not the Lord anointed you ruler over his inheritance? To say these are not just some people that you lord it over. Your leadership, your kingship is a stewardship. These are people that God himself is saying they are my inheritance, just as he says through the psalmist in Psalm 127, children are the heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of their womb is reward. That whenever we have the opportunity to lead, and we do always have opportunities to lead, leadership is influence, to say the least. And every opportunity to influence people, we must do it bearing in mind that we are not just influencing rocks and stones. We are influencing people for whom we will give account of how we've influenced them, because they do not belong to us. They are indeed the inheritance of the Lord.
Before I for chapter 11,
yes,
a point stood out to me in 10 as well.
Okay.
On how that Saul kept silent when the scoundrel said, how can this fellow save us? And that's quite instructive to me, in that the scoundrels did not choose him. So therefore, why respond to them? Why respond to scones?
I think it's actually loaded.
Is it?
In saying he kept silent, it's not he kept silent as a thing of virtue, is how I've read it.
Oh.
He kept silent, pondering these things. These are the raw materials for depression. These are the raw materials for insecurity. These are the raw materials for, in some sense, many of the things that will go on to happen is because there is a whole lot of conversation going on in Saul's heart that nobody knows. Because, he's going to make some dumb decisions, and you wonder. There is a Yoruba proverb that says, "Ailalabaro lo mu ki eni ba yesun." To translate that to English is that when you don't have someone that you can confide in and pour out your heart, you won't know when you would get so depraved that you sleep with your mother. God forbid. It's a stark portrayal of a proverb, but the point of the proverb is that we all need people that we can be playing with. We all need people that we can do life with and be transparent and unburden our hearts. How did you feel, Brother Saul, that some valiant men followed you and some scoundrels questioned why you were the one of all people to be chosen? You that you went on to even be hiding among the supplies on the day of. What confidence would that give us in you leading us? How did you process that? Nobody knows. He kept silent. He should have spoken, at least to someone, if not to everybody. But yeah, now I'm ranting.
I like that. It's very nice to have you on the other side.
Whatever that means.
The other side of rants. Okay. And then in 11, what stood out to me was how he cut up the pair of oxen into pieces and sent them throughout Israel. Same way, if you remember, that guy in
Judges,
that Levite in Judges 19, how he cut up his concubine limb by limb and sent them into the entire territory of Israel.
Yeah.
I thought, why is it coming up again? Why? But
yeah, and the interesting thing about that is also the fact that the people that did the bad thing that led to that Levite doing that was something caused by Benjaminites. And here is Saul, another Benjaminite, replicating a similar act for I don't understand. And it's a threat because he is saying, this is how, if you don't follow me by fire, by force, this is what will be done to you. Again, another expression of, I don't know, another baggage. Why? The Spirit of God came powerfully upon you and he burned with anger. I thought that would then mean anger to just go and fight the enemy. But because, of course, not everybody at this point has accepted him, he thought the first line of action is, let me get everybody to be on my side. And the only way I can do that, now I'm the king, the way I can do that is to threaten them and send them pieces of an oxen and say, this is how you'll be split in pieces if you don't follow me.
What you just said, Kola, reminded me of our discussion when we read about Ehud, how he built the two-edged sword to go kill the King Eglon of the Moabites. In that, we said then that sometimes when God would rescue you, you can't prescribe how it will be done. He gets to know the process. Our own is to celebrate the victory. So in the same guise, when the Spirit of the Lord came upon Saul, his burning for anger it could be right in his own way. We can't prescribe whether he should burn for anger this way or another way. He burned for anger, he did what he did, got victory over. That is his method. And we've seen throughout our reading of Judges how that most of the judges, they do things differently. Sometimes they won't even inquire of God, but we would read from the action that it must have been inspired by God, because then the victory is had and then they will give sacrifice or praises to God afterwards.
Indeed.
That's how I read that.
Yeah.
And regarding the guys that called the scoundrels that refused to follow Saul, we read in chapter 11 verse 13 now that even though Saul kept quiet then, he did not put them to death.
Yeah.
So to me, it reads as though a silence then is a virtue.
Okay.
Like it's a battle he chose not to engage with. Maybe because of the significance of the kingship or the newness of it. Like I can't be like, I understand that it should have spoken, or because sometimes when you don't speak out, especially for the gentle ones, I'm looking at my husband, when you guys don't speak out like we do, things fester, doesn't it? And then in one time that you would then burst out, the whole world will shake because, hey, the gentleman has spoken. So I do understand how that being outspoken with your feelings or how you are, sharing with someone you trust is really good. It's how I live, basically. I live for letting it go, and so that I can have peace and things like that. So that's how I read it. Like if he's choosing not to put them to death, then it goes to show that his silence at the end of chapter 10 fits into the fact that it's a battle he chose not to engage with. Otherwise, if he had animosity over what those people did, at the time the people told Samuel that they should kill those men, Saul should have said, yes, kill them. They were really disrespectful to me and dishonored me. But he said, no one will be put to death today, for the Lord has rescued Israel. And again, maybe the today part is let's leave their deaths for another time. Who knows? There's that also.
Just maybe.
Just maybe.
It's an unfolding story. We'll flip
is.
the page and we'll continue to see Brother Saul, who is, I don't know, I was going to say who is nothing like the Brother Saul of the New Testament that became Brother Paul, but we'll see. We'll wait and see.
That's the story of
Chapter 12, Samuel's farewell speech. What stood out to me is just the confidence in those first few verses of Samuel being able to say, I have not done this, I have not taken. And then, of course, even the people confirmed in verse 4, you have not taken anything from anyone's hand. Remember when I was making the reference to the take that the king will eventually do when they start having kings. They would have kings that take from them. But here is Samuel saying, in my own leadership, I have not taken anything from anyone's hand. If anything, I've given back all that God gave me to give to you. In that sense, I found that quite instructive.
But I found this disclaimer to be troubling.
Oh, why?
In that it's not just about him. He was judge, prophet, and priest, and his sons were appointed as leaders over Israel as well. So if he's disclaiming on just his own part, why didn't he include what his sons did? It's like a total blindsided comment to say, what have I taken? But we read that your son took bribe. Your son had dishonest gain. Chapter 12 verse 2. He said, as for me, I am old and gray, and my sons are here with you. But then went on to 3 to say, whose oxen have I taken? Whom have I cheated? But your sons cheated. Your sons oppressed. Your sons accepted bribes.
Okay.
And he said, if I've done any of these things, I will make right. But what can't you talk about the things your sons did and make it right? I understand that you said earlier when we were reading chapter 8 and discussing, we said that our faith is not hereditary. Our sons will do. They get to know God on their own account. But from verse 2 of chapter 12, he's already said, as for me, I am old and gray, and my sons are here with you. So it's included all of them together. But then the follow-on of the commentary was all about him. What have I done? What have I done? But it is reasonable for him to have said, I understand that my sons did X, Y, Z while they were your leaders. If I need to make this right, if they need to make this right, let them know.
That's insightful. So many sides to the story. And this is just the beginning. The plot thickens as we go on. And then in verse 12 as well, we saw actually part of the motivations for them choosing a king. This was not mentioned earlier on. I mean, they did say that they want a king that will lead them to battle. But now we see that actually it's because of an imminent threat from the king of the Ammonites, Nahash, that made them say, we want a king to rule over us. And then Samuel adds in verse 12, even though the Lord your God was your king. In other words, even when they had judges, Samuel himself being a judge, a priest, and a prophet, God has always been, they are running a theocracy. It's not who God has raised as a deliverer, whether that is Samson or Deborah or Ehud or Othniel or Samuel. Yes, God will lead through people, but their real king has always been God. Should always continue to be God. And now they are choosing to reject that theocracy and exchange it for monarchy. Of course, now in our days, we have also then moved on to democracy. And yes, God says all of these styles, I can walk through them. Because in the New Testament, we're going to see that even the rulers of the people, there is no rulership or leadership that is outside of God's say-so at the end of the day. But they have lost a very fundamental aspect of what God intended for them, for leadership to look like. In the New Covenant, we have a way back to this in the sense that now the Holy Spirit lives in us as many as are led by the Spirit of God. That's what it means for us to have God as our King, to make his kingdom goals our personal goals in that sense, to align our will with the will of his kingdom, and to continue to acknowledge him as ruler over our lives. So far, we've seen two of the big characters that this book is about, namely Samuel and Saul. And very soon, we'll be turning to add to that a third character. But join us again on day 84 as we continue the reading, moving on from chapters 13 to 16. But till then, just remember,
You're not alone.
today.
God bless you.